Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Drummer. It's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK, 9 p.m. in Manila. I hope our friends in Manila are tuned in. Um, yeah, today's guest. I'm gonna say he's the drummer's drummer, based on the response I got from our guest announcement post. I haven't actually seen him live, but hopefully, because they're gigging again, so hopefully, I will go and see him someday soon. And if anyone has heard of a book called "Whatever Happened to the CH6 Kids," well, we're going to find out today with our guest. So, my dear friends, please welcome Paul Turnbull.
Hello,
Yay!
hello. Hi,
Hello, Paul.
hi, how you doing?
I'm okay. Thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
Yeah. Are you in Glasgow at the moment?
No, Edinburgh.
Oh, right. What's it like there? Is it raining?
It has been, yeah. It's off at the moment, so
Yeah.
it's been raining all morning. So the poor dog hasn't had a walk yet.
Yeah, well, it's raining here in, in Stockport. It's almost like where's summer gone? It's still supposed to be the middle of summer in like July, and it's
Yeah.
or August. But anyways, I wanted to say congratulations to your daughter because
Well, thank you.
you were supposed to be on last week, but you were actually in Manchester
Yeah,
last week. Yeah, congratulations to her, and of course to the proud parents as well, because it's really, I mean, even though they did all the hard work, it's almost like our achievements as well. When our kids sort of like graduate from university. So
yeah,
right, so when I met you last February at the Hungry Beat event,
yeah.
I've got, I've got to actually apologize. I can't remember now who actually did the introduction. Uh,
I
but
think it was. I think it was David McCluskey.
well, I remember I was talking to David McCluskey that time because the night before, at the Bluebells gig, they were so nice, especially Ken McCluskey because he's like, you know, promoted as the drummer on the stage. He said something like, "If there are any drummers around, go and speak to Anna because you know about the ask the drummer thing." But anyway, so the following night at the Hunger Beat event, someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I wanted to meet this drummer," and then we got introduced, and then I wasn't sure because it happened to me before that I got introduced to people and saying that they're band members,
Yeah.
but actually they're not. So, because I remember a few years ago, someone said to me, "This is so and so, and he's the drummer of the Soup Dragons," and
Right.
I'm like, "But because at the time, I mean the Soup, I mean nowadays they're very active, aren't they? Because they're going to
Yeah.
be touring this year,
Is that
but."
the early
Like,
days when it was Ross?
yeah, yeah. Well, 4 or 5 years. I think it was 4 years ago. They weren't very active, so there's not much like photos of them around.
Mhm.
And of course, because I'm originally from the Philippines, I didn't really know much about the members of the Soup Dragons.
Yeah.
So I got introduced to this person, and someone said that he's the drummer. I was like, "Oh my god!" And it turned out it wasn't.
All right.
So and so I thought, unless from then on, I mean, I said, unless I actually see them play on stage, I'm not going to believe anyone who tells me that they're a band member. So I'm going to say, when I got introduced to you, I was a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about this.
I must have been able to convince you somehow.
But it was also really dark as well, so I wasn't. It was dark at the time, so I just asked for your contact details, and thankfully you said yes, and so you're here now. So on Ask the Drummer. So I wanted to say welcome to Ask the Drummer. Episode 88 is all about you, Paul Turnbull. So you live in Edinburgh now, but have you always been? And have you always, so like, were you born in Edinburgh?
No, I was born in Glasgow. Born and brought up in the East End of Glasgow, a place called Mount Vernon, from about the age of 7 until I left there. So I lived in Glasgow, didn't move to Edinburgh. Been in Edinburgh for about just over 25 years now.
Oh, well. Do you prefer Edinburgh? Is that sort of like a daft question to ask?
No,
I mean,
no, it was purely, it was because my wife Anne and I, we both had jobs in Edinburgh, and we were at that point we were travelling through from Glasgow, and Anne's from Edinburgh, and we just decided that it's probably better that we just move through to
move there, yeah.
When we first moved through, we stayed with our mum, and then we got a flat.
Yeah. So when you were growing up in Glasgow, what was it like for you? Most especially like the music scene, and did you go to lots of gigs or clubs?
Yeah, I mean that sort of as quick as I could sort of auditioned for a band when I was about 16, and that band would try and get gigs, and there was some hotels that would put on gigs. You would also try and go along and speak to other people who were headlining, and maybe you would get support slots. And so there was certain venues that were around. There was a bungalow in Paisley, the Burns House in Glasgow city centre, the Doon Castle on the south side. So there was some places that bands were put on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was lucky around that time, sort of 16, 17, there was a lot of activity. There was two, great record labels, Postcard Records in Glasgow and Fast and Borrell in Edinburgh. And all those labels had great bands, and they would, you could see them quite regularly,
Yeah.
So bands like Pontius and Joseph K. McLaren's was quite regular. So they certainly set a benchmark really high. In terms of if you wanted to get anywhere, you wanted to try and be as good as these bands.
Well, before we continue, I mean, Aidan said the sound and vision is good. So Aidan is the support tech of Asta Drummer. So I'm really glad he said that it's okay. Were you from a musical family at all?
My dad played the trumpet, and my gran played piano. My mum didn't play any musical instrument, but my gran played piano, and she sang. And she was self-taught, played by ear, and she would play in sort of social clubs that she would frequent, and her friends owned a pub, and she would play in that as well. So I got to see her a few times doing that.
Yeah.
Never saw my dad play trumpet. Well, in the house he would play it from time to time, but he gave it up because he was one of the last people to do national service in our country. So
oh right, yeah.
He had to 2 years in the army, and he thought, okay, well, I'll try and get into like an army band. And he said to him, you have to sign up for 5 years if you want to continue if you want to be in a band.
Oh God, yeah.
And he met my mum at that point, and any leave he had, he was hitchhiking back up the road from England to Glasgow to see my mum. So he just said, no, he's just going to go 2 years. So he couldn't play the trumpet during those 2 years, and after that, he sort of didn't really pick it up again.
Oh, I see. What about you? Have you always been sort of like drawn to the drums? Did you learn how to play the trumpet or the piano because your grandparents sort of like played?
No. I would have liked to have played the piano. No, I never sort of did that. I suppose it was my mum really that got me interested in drums. She just turned up my brother and I were about 4 or 5, and she just turned up at the house. She'd been into town, and she turned up with this junior drum kit. Which she set up. It was really small, just a toy drum kit.
Yeah, yeah.
Set that up in the house, and we battered away in that drum kit. And I suppose it was because you had 2 boys and there was a lot of energy, so to energy on. But my dad was shocked because he'd expected my mum to come back with. She'd gone to the town to get some curtain material, but instead came back with a junior drum kit. So she was shocked and didn't want a drum kit in the house. And I didn't get a proper drum kit till I was about 16 because he didn't want a drum kit in the house. Probably my mum's. Yeah, it was my mum's sort of encouragement, I suppose, and support.
Yeah.
And then because I was doing that, when I listened to music, I started just to listen to the drums. So my brother wasn't really that bothered with it. I just continued playing that small kit until essentially I broke it.
Yeah. But did you go for lessons, or were you self-taught?
No, I didn't. I didn't go. Not until I did get lessons when I was about 10. I sort of, by that point, I'd been watching the Top of the Pops, and around the early 70s, the drummers used to be front of stage. So they'd be and I thought that was really cool. And I just thought, well, I'd quite like to learn. So my mum arranged for drum lessons for me. But it didn't really last that long because I didn't have the focus or the attention. I might have been too young. I was only about 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So I then stopped and then went back and got lessons again when I was 15. And I did that for 2 years. And then the teacher said, "Oh, I've taught you all I can teach you." And I thought, well, the next step is just go and try and find a band.
Yeah. So what was your first band then?
First band was called The Medics, which then became Natural Selection. So I auditioned for them, and just the usual thing. They ask you. You'd see adverts. There's a shop in Glasgow called McCormack's, and there was a notice board for musicians wanted, and you would see those adverts, and if any sort of connected with you, you would try and go for the audition. So they mentioned the Beatles and Buzzcocks and the Jam.
Yeah.
And then I contacted them. They just said, "Oh, they gave me sort of half a dozen songs. Okay, you learn these and come over next Sunday." And so I did that, and
then you got in.
I got in, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? A lot of musicians in the old days, that's how they actually got to be in the band. It's like all those adverts from like music shops and stuff. Do you still? Are there still places like that in Glasgow or in the UK that the musicians still see adverts in shop windows or whatever, or it's just all online now? Because how do people get together? Or just friends, or
I don't really know unless it's at school or something like that. I think but I mean, when I was at school, there was no contemporary music wasn't encouraged or supported. It was you went to music class and it was classical music you were listening to.
Oh right, yeah.
And there's no way at either primary or secondary that I could play or practice drums. I think that's all different now. So I think a lot of groups are made up from people who went to school together.
Yeah, because I just find there's something lovely about seeing an advert say looking for a drummer, and then you sort of like apply for it, or you go and see that moment that you see your band, or the other members of the band, and that was the first time. And then you tell people this is how we got together. I just think there's something fantastic, or it's really lovely, but I think nowadays it's different because
Yeah.
it's not like in the 70s or 80s. But anyway, so that natural selection, I didn't actually see that on Discogs. Did you ever release any material, or did you release like a single or an album?
No, I think we got as far as I think we recorded a demo. That was probably self-financed, and I think that was studios weren't cheap, but I don't think we had enough to actually self-release, and there wasn't any. I don't think any record labels were really interested in us. At that point, we'd started off with cover versions, and gradually we got up our own set. And once we
Yeah.
got our own set of original material, we went to the studio and did a demo, but it never really got any further than that. So we never released anything more.
So after that, because the first band that actually, so like when I looked you up on Discogs, and this is a very important band as well. Mackenzie's, is that the next band that you were in?
Yeah,
You were in?
yeah. That was the next
So
band.
yeah, so after Natural Selection, then you become. Are you a founding member of Mackenzie's, or did you join them? Were they already like a band when you joined, or
Um,
how did Mackenzie's sort of like form?
I know as a founding member, um, Ian Beveridge was at primary school with me and secondary, so I knew Ian for many years. I knew he was a guitar player. And Ian was in Glasgow and was trying to put a band together. And a friend of a friend hooked Ian and I up with Peter Gilmore and Gary Weir. So that was it. Essentially, that was the band. Gary on vocals and guitar, Peter on bass, Ian on guitar, and myself on drums.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how Mackenzie's came together.
Well, it's not to be confused with because there's another one called Goodbye, Mr. Mackenzie, and
Yeah.
it's not that one because that's the one with Shirley Manson. It's not like a garbage. But I'm really interested about this band Mackenzie's because the C86, like I said in the introduction, so like there's a book called Whatever Happened to the C86 Kids.
Yeah.
You were a part of that the NME compilation album. One of your songs are actually in that compilation album called Big Jim. There's no pubs in heaven. I've actually got that LP, and I've got to say that song is so good. It's really funky. um, so can you tell me more about that period? With how did you get included in that C86 compilation?
Yeah. Again, we spent time building up our own set of original songs. I was lucky, but at this point, I had a big bedroom at my parents', and I just had my kit set up there, and we got the amps, and that was our rehearsal space. So we would rehearse Wednesday evenings and Sundays, and gradually we got a set together of our own songs, and then started to. Well, our first gig was friends of ours who were putting on a club called Splash One, and Ian had spoken to them about us trying to get a support with a Manchester band called Big Flame.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And yeah, we got the support, and then we got chatting to Greg from Big Flame, and he asked us if we had a demo tape, which we gave him a demo tape, and they had self-released an EP, and they just signed with an independent record label out of Nottingham called Ron Johnson Records. And gave the tape to Dave Parsons, who ran Ron Johnson, and luckily for us, Dave really liked it and asked us to sign Ron Johnson, and that was great because Dave was brilliant and just really supportive of the bands on his label, and it was complete creative control for the bands. You could choose the studio you wanted to go into, who you wanted to work with, your own artwork, what tracks you wanted to put on there, and he worked really hard at it. And I think because he worked it hard at promoting the bands on the label, that it drew the attention of the NME, and that's why there's about 4 bands on that cassette from Ron Johnson: A Witness, Big Flame, Stump, and ourselves.
Right.
So that's how that came about.
Yeah. Well, talk about Big Flame and sort of like Manchester. You mentioned earlier before we went on live that you actually lived in Manchester for a while.
Yeah.
And you went to the Hacienda, which for me, I find that really amazing because that's the only time I regret when I came here in 1996. The Hacienda was still open, but we never had, we never went there. And then a year later, it closed down.
Yeah.
So can you tell me just your experience of the Hacienda? Because, I just think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating place. Who did you see there?
Well, when I went down to Manchester, the Hacienda, it was 19 before, so the Hacienda had been up about 2 years. And at that point, I think they were still putting on bands every night. But the job I had, I would finish at 11 o'clock at night, so I couldn't go when I was working. And at weekends, off, I'd be up the road to practice with Mackenzie's. But during the week, if I was off, I would go down to the Hacienda. So I saw Jonathan Richman and I saw Tom Verlaine. And I saw a certain ratio.
Wow.
It was good, but it wasn't. It was never really busy, and sometimes I would go out. Might finish on a Friday night at 11 o'clock. I'd get a taxi to my flat, get changed, and then go to the Hacienda. But it wasn't for a club night. It wasn't as busy as it would become a few years later.
Oh, right. So it's like the early years.
Yeah.
And did you ever get to play there?
No, sadly not. No.
Oh, it's a shame. But so looking at Mackenzie's, you only did like a couple of singles, released a couple of singles, but you also did like a couple of John Peel sessions.
Yeah. He was great, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've heard Precious Recordings. They've been releasing 10-inch records. So like the Soup Dragons, they had the John Peel sessions, and I think Janice Long sessions as well. Have you ever been contacted by anyone from and maybe release this John Peel sessions on vinyl?
No, we haven't. No. I think I'm still in touch with Ian and Gary and Peter, and I think it's something we would like to do. Because we had a set, and I think one of the regrets we had was that we never recorded our whole set, which could have been that first album.
Yeah.
We did a first single and then waited for ages, and during that time we were changing and developing. So the second single was quite a bit different from the first single. But I think it's something we've talked about, is getting that set that we played at the time onto vinyl.
I think so. I think you should have it, because I think the records that you've got, because they're so rare, it's a bit difficult for people, record collectors to you buy them. But if the John Peel sessions will be released, especially on precious recordings. It'll be like a 10-inch vinyl. I definitely get those as well. But what about the book? Have whatever happened to the C86 Kids? Have you? I haven't got a copy of it, so I don't know whether are you in that book. Has anyone, was the author actually contacted anyone from Mackenzie's?
Yeah, Nige, who wrote the book, contacted us about it, and we met up with him in Glasgow, Gary and Ian and myself.
Yeah.
And then Peter, who was our sax player in the band, he met up with Nige in Edinburgh. Yeah, we had a good chat with him, and he kindly sent each of us a copy of the book as well, which is a good read.
Yeah, I should really get a copy of that one. But
Yeah.
I get that you've actually got a really good following, Mackenzie's, because I've got several sort of like questions for you, and also responses that I've received. Most of them are from drummers. That's why
All
I say
right.
I think you're the drummers drummer. One of them is Darren Garrett, who's like the drummer of the Nightingales and
Yeah.
Pram. And he said that Mackenzie's are one of my favorite groups. And he has your records, but sadly, he never got to see you live. He never saw you live.
Mm-hmm.
Which, um, now this is for the second, so like a second drummer who actually like responded to the guest announcement post about yourself. And it's Richie Dempsey from
Oh yeah.
Some Shaves and Dawson.
Hi, Richie.
So yeah, he said, he said hello, said hi to Paul, and he's got a question for you. He wants to know, when are the Mackenzies going to reform, and can he do sound for you?
He can definitely do sound for us anytime. He's brilliant. And Mackenzie's getting together. Well, it would be hard because Peter, the bass player, he lives in Brisbane in Australia now. Um,
Oh,
and but Ian and Gary and I are still get together and still sort of doing a wee bit of music. But that's still in its sort of early stages at the moment. But I don't know about Mackenzie's ever getting together again. I'm not sure.
but last year I asked Ross Sinclair the same question when I saw him at Glasgow Spot, and he also said to me that maybe not, that they're not going to sort of like reforming because Sean Dixon is actually doing his DJing stuff. But look what happened this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're touring. So I think I'm actually quite hopeful, especially after you've said that you're still sort of like in touch with each other, that you're talking, that maybe, you'll never know, maybe next year we might see Mackenzie's tour as well.
Maybe if that record that comes out, of our set, maybe we'll do a show. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's very good news. But,
And Richie will definitely do the sound if he would kindly help us on the sound. That would be fantastic.
oh, that's brilliant. He'd be really happy because Richie did the sound for Hungry Beats. He
Yeah.
was so like, yeah, he's brilliant, Richie. But before we move on to the next band that you played in, I've got another awesome drummer who's got a question for you. Couple of questions actually, and it's I keep mentioning him because he's amazing. It's Professor Ross Sinclair from the Soup
Oh yeah.
Dragons. He also wanted me to say hello to you. And he said, now I've got to read this because it's quite long. So Ross said, when the Soup Dragon started, he was very new to playing the drums. And around that time, he used to see you playing a lot. He said that he loved and admired your punk, funk, crazy energy. Like I said, that Big Jim song is actually really funky. So, but anyways, Professor Ross said also added that you seem to bring in influences from all over the place, and smash them together in a super dynamic mashup. So those are his words. But his question is, who were your drumming heroes that you learned from?
Oh, I suppose you go back to when I started to look for, to be in a band. Um, the big influence on me was Bruce Smith, who was in the pop group, and Rig and Panic.
All right.
So when I was 16, 15, 16, that was the first time a friend of mine played me their single "She's Beyond Good and Evil" and the B side "338," and the drums on it just sounded amazing, full of energy and had a real groove to it. I think I've always liked songs or drums where there's a real energy, but a real groove to it as well. And then when I think, when I was 19, I'm hearing him do, with Rip and Panic. If you hear like the first song on the last album, Attitude, Keep the Sharks from Your Heart, and you compare 338 with Keep the Sharks from Your Heart, and what he did as a drummer was amazing. So he was one of the main influences.
Wow.
But the first drums I really heard was, which probably got me onto wanting drumming lessons when I was 10, was my aunt used to look after my brother and I because my mum and dad would work late. So she was a lot younger than my mum, but she was really into Tamla Motown. So she used to bring 7-inch singles to the house, and we would just dance with her to these Tamla Motown records. And so it was the drums on those Motown records that I loved. So Benny Benjamin, I think, was the house drummer with Tamla Motown. And it was just that, he did sort of Get Ready with the Temptations and Uptight with Stevie Wonder,
Yeah.
and going over the Miracles. And the drums just sounded brilliant to me on Motown records. You just wanted to dance. So that's why I went for drum lessons when I was 10, because of that. And then moving into sort of being in a band was really from listening to Bruce Smith.
Wow. Well, do you know, from doing Ask the Drummer, I actually found out from one of our guests that Stevie Wonder is a drummer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually so that blew my mind because it was all like I knew he could play the piano, but it was all like Stevie Wonder playing the drums. And I actually went on YouTube to search for it,
Yeah.
and he was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And Marvin Gaye's a great drummer. He started off playing drums.
Really?
Yeah. You can find footage of Marvin Gaye playing drums. He's a great drummer.
Oh wow. That's amazing. I'm definitely going to look for that. Hopefully, there are clips of Marvin Gaye playing drums on YouTube. But so I've got another question from Professor Ross Sinclair before we actually move on, because he wanted to know. I think this is so like a personal one. Will you and Professor Ross still make that film someday of a portrait of you playing drums as an artwork? I think that's.
Yes. Yeah, but Ross and I, with their friend Dave Allen, sort of played in the 90s. I think it was. I remember we played at the Tramway, and it was part of an art piece that Ross was putting together. And I think it was also because it was a party. So I've played with Ross before. That was really good fun. That was great fun. So yes is the answer to.
Yes. Oh wow! So because apparently that's like 30 years in the making or in the planning stages. So. Well, hopefully he's watching, or maybe he'll watch later, and then I'll tell him. But I'm gonna sort of like say, are you gonna be at Glasgow Pop this year? this weekend actually, Friday and Saturday. Yeah. You've heard of Glasgow Pop?
No, no.
Oh no, no. I thought I saw like because the first time I saw Ross Sinclair, well, the only time I saw Ross Sinclair was at Glasgow Pop, and I was just really, that was a very, very pleasant surprise when I saw it, because I wasn't expecting him to see that. But now it's like, with the tour and everything, I'm really excited to sort of like see the band again. And if he was there, if he's there this weekend, I'll tell him that you said yes, you're gonna do that film with him.
Great.
So now from Mackenzie's to your next sort of like band, which is the Secret Goldfish.
Yeah.
Again, I think the Secret Goldfish is, I mean, compared to the Mackenzie's, you had more of success because you've released several albums and singles as well. So can you tell us more about the Secret Goldfish, please?
Yeah, that wasn't a founding member of the Secret Goldfish. Katie, who'd been in a band called the Fizz Bombs, that had finished, and she was wanting to get another band together. And she previously played in a band with her brother, Graham Leone. And after Peter Gilmore had left to finish his degree at art school, Graham had joined the Mackenzies. So Graham was in the Mackenzies at the late stage. So it was Graham and I essentially like the sort of the rhythm section of the Mackenzies, or the latter stages of the band, who became the sort of rhythm section of the Secret Goldfish. And Katie was writing with Douglas, and Douglas had asked me if I was interested in joining the band. And they were sort of like, I've always, said of like energy, music with a groove to it, but also like other stuff. Like, I've always liked the Birds and Oliver Spoonful and the Turtles, bands like that. And Secret Goldfish was going to sort of be that sort of vibe about it. And so I was really happy to join, So that's when that was Katie and Graham and I sort of got together, and that was became the Secret Goldfish. Katie and Douglas already had the name at that point as well.
Well, the Lironis, they're like, because it's apart from Katie and Graham, they're also like there's Stephen Lironi from Altered Images, right? And
yes, yeah.
So
Stephen
he's related to them. So he's like one of the Lironis.
Yes, Katie's brother. Yeah.
Katie's brother. Yeah, that's right. Okay, because he's also a drummer, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, very good drummer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Stephen a couple of times because we supported the band that he played for, and he used to come on and do like a solo before the band came on stage, and he was a great drummer. Yeah.
Is he still playing? Is he still in the band, or is he?
No, I think no. I think the Alternum just put together an album. I think during the pandemic, and I think his business now is restaurants, and obviously in the pandemic they couldn't operate, so I think they put an album together, released an Altered Images album, but I don't think he's involved in music anymore. It's a restaurateur, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a shame. It would be nice to like have him on Asta Drummer as well, if sort of like something. But so the Secret Goldfish, I've looked it up, and you got there's a 1999 album called Mink Riots, and according to this article that I read, it actually featured Francis McDonald from Teenage Fan Club, and Stevie Jackson from Belle and Sebastian.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a fan of Francis McDonald. I think he's absolutely amazing. So did he drum on that
No,
album or?
no. I mean, Francis can play. Well, probably know that he play guitar and keyboards. Francis came on to play keys for us, and he played live with us a couple of times as well. I think actually he played live with us when their record label Creeping Bent was invited by John Peel to do a showcase at his Meltdown Festival, and Francis was playing live with us then. But Francis was on keyboard.
Oh, right. And Stevie Jackson?
Yeah, and I never met Stevie during that time when we recorded, but I think he must have come on to maybe add some guitar and vocals, maybe.
Right.
I didn't meet him during those sessions.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know much about Belle and Sebastian, to be honest. I mean, I'm trying to, because I saw Stephen Murdoch last year at Glasgow's Pop, and Stevie Jackson is actually headlining Friday nights, Glasgow's Pop this year. So
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to seeing him, because it's billed as Stevie Jackson and friends. So I don't know who the friends are going to be, but I'm really looking forward to that. But you had, I think, in 2016, you reformed, the Secret Goldfish reformed and did some gigs.
yeah,
Is that right? So did you have
yeah.
Francis McDonald back then, or?
No, Francis wasn't playing with us at that point, but we had another legend in James Kirk from Orange Juice who was playing with us at that point.
Wow.
And James played on stage with us. I think it was the our third album called Petal Split, which had been recorded many years before, but never got released. And then we finally got it released around 2016. And so the gig was around promoting that album, and James got involved. It was great, just sort of playing the James Kirk,
Yeah. Do you know what? One thing that really amazed me with the Glasgow musicians, because you're also connected to each other. If you go to a gig in Glasgow, say the Bluebell, so you'll see so many Scottish musicians in the audience as well, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing for fans like myself. So,
That Hungry Beat event I was at, and where I met you, that was just like a musician's party. That
absolutely, I know it's amazing, because it's I like to have photos with all these musicians after the gig, and I had so many photos with all of them. So Malcolm Ross, Stephen Pasto, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so amazing. But yeah, it's true. I agree with what you said. It's like a musician's party, that Hungry Beat. And I think I've seen like on a post on Facebook that I think they're gonna be at Glasgow's Pop. Douglas McIntyre and some of the Hungry Beat, so people are gonna be there.
yeah, because Douglas's book came out last year, so I think.
Yeah. So that's another one that I'm really looking forward to seeing. But going back to you, so after that, after the Secret Goldfish, the next band that I saw is actually Port Sulphur, but I looked it up and it says that it's like an audio collective.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main person is Douglas McIntyre.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved, or did you have any other bands in between the Secret Goldfish and Port Sulphur?
No, not at all. As you say, Port Sulphur was, Douglas's project, and the first album is really a whole sort of collection of various people that Douglas wrote with, and then he was, put the whole album together with lots of musicians, and the second album, Speed of Life, that came out recently, that was sort of it was a different approach. Douglas had a much different approach to that this time.
Yeah.
It was essentially just the three of us in recording the album, and then Grant McPhee sort of making films of those recordings, and photographer Gavin Fraser documenting the process of the album, essentially coming together and then playing live. So from the first to the second album, it was Douglas had a different sort of different ideas, different mindset for how he wanted to approach it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say congratulations, because when it came out last October, it went into #1.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
That at all. Yeah.
Well,
we were driving down to I think we're driving down to down to Six Music for a Mark Riley session, and I think that's when we found out it had gone number one. So
yeah,
we're lucky we managed to keep the van on the road with the excitement that was going on after we heard that.
I need to get a copy of that. I mean, this weekend when I go to Glasgow, I'll make sure that I go to Last Night from Glasgow shop and get a copy of it. Because
I've not been yet, but I've heard that it's great. You'll definitely come away with something. You'll buy something, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant place, and like the whole thing about Last Night from Glasgow, it's absolutely amazing because he supports all these musicians, and it's not for profit. I mean, it's like you get loads of like really good stuff in there if you become a member. It's like you get all discounted, so like the price for albums, and sometimes you get freebies as well. So
yeah,
I would definitely recommend it to any record collector out there to sort like join and become a member of Last Night from Glasgow, because they're just really amazing. So yeah, I will go there and get a copy of that Speed of Life. And I think I remember seeing a Douglas McIntyre post about a gig, because this was last year, I think, before, because you recently did a gig with Scars.
Yeah, we did. We did a gig at the CCA last December, and then quite recently we did a gig in Glasgow at Mono with the Scars. Richie was doing the sound that night, and then we played with them at the Voodoo Rooms in Edinburgh as well. So we're going to do another gig.
In December. It's like December, the December gig.
So that'll be good fun.
Yeah, because I'd love to actually go and see you play live, because I haven't seen you play. And I've heard so much about that Scars gig, actually, the recent one, that apparently was a huge success.
Yeah, great,
yeah. And you're playing with them again in December. So it's a Scars gig, and then you're supporting. But the last year, I looked it up, and apparently you had Campbell Owens playing with you as well in Port Sulphur.
Yeah. Campbell's been part of that collective as well. I think there's a Mark Riley session where, and there's also a BBC Scotland session as well, and it's and the band is Campbell, Owens, Ken McCluskey, James Kirk, myself, Douglas, Samuel, Katie. So that was like I think 9 folk in the whole sort of collective for that session.
It's absolutely Amazing. I mean, it's like, do you remember those Rock Family Trees
Yeah.
series in the past? I don't know, was it the 90s when they had it on the television? Sometimes I think that maybe they should do another one and round Douglas McIntyre. Because all the musicians connected with Douglas McIntyre is
Yeah.
just unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
like, so I was all like thinking, yeah, they definitely need to do this Rock Family 3. It was all like based around him and all these other bands that he was in and everything. But anyways, so another thing that I found out when I was so like researching, what I'll say to you or something, googling you, you're a music business lecturer
Yeah.
at Edinburgh College.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that so when you're not drumming, that's your job?
That's my job. Yeah, full time. So it's like a business course, but within the context of the music industry. So you learn about the legal side of things, contracts, finance things, budgets, and marketing and promoting. So yeah, so that's my full time job essentially.
Wow. And this is actually the important bit for any musician because you've got to sort of like protect your sort of like when you're getting signed and things like that. Because you get to hear about um in the past like all these bands musicians getting signed and then they didn't get any money at all.
Yeah,
So is this the sort of thing that you actually teach, you so like tell
yeah,
them
yeah,
business side of it?
yeah, exactly. It's about trying to how to retain creative control and get paid for it and protect your creativity. Um, and I suppose that it's certainly something that we didn't know about or think about when we were in Mackenzie's because it's not the glamorous side of things, the making, the playing live, that's the glamour. But
Yeah.
thinking about, signing bits of paper or, um, you know,
But this is actually the important side of
yeah,
music,
yeah, yeah,
isn't it? But so, because I've noticed that there's actually quite a lot of Scottish drummers who are into this, or like maybe. Do you teach music as well, or is this just the business side of it? Because I know that David McCluskey and Hazel Morrison, um, Stuart Kidd, and of course Professor Ross. I mean, they all teach music,
yeah.
don't
Uh-huh.
they? So, do you also, apart from the music business, do you also teach music and like the drums or?
No, no, I don't. I don't do that. I mean, I don't. I never learned music theory. I don't read. I don't read music. My all I'd really be able to uh, teach would be sort of rudiments. But then you can go into plenty of drummer YouTube channels, and you can learn about rudiments on those channels now. The people like Steve,
Yeah.
for example, he's got a great YouTube channel on 40 odd different rudiments for helping you become a drummer. But no, it's just music business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you go on those music channels, the YouTube channels, and so
yeah,
even though you're already, a professional drummer?
yeah. Steve White's one's great. Yeah, I used to um, note down, on my phone, sort of what it, the notes that he was talking about the various different rudiments, and then I would start off with the tempo that I felt comfortable, and then see if I could increase that tempo. And I had a whole lot of these rudiments listed and the tempos I was doing them at on my phone, and then of course my phone crashed and I lost all my notes.
Oh no! Oh,
And I haven't been on back on his channel since. But his is really good. It's if you like sort of rudiments, if you like sort of playing around on a practice pad for an hour or a couple of hours a day, then it's good for that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah. So would you say nowadays it's a lot easier for like anyone to learn anything
Yeah,
like drumming and things?
yeah, I think so. I don't think you need to go into to lessons. You could just start with, you know, any sort of YouTube channels.
YouTube,
That's
yeah,
the thing. I
yeah,
think Steve White's one's one of the best ones for anyone wanting to be a drummer.
yeah. But it's still nothing beats so like seeing having a one-to-one lesson with the drummer.
No,
So,
no, 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 no. Especially if you're sitting behind a real drum kit, it's
yeah,
not a practice pad. Then there's the whole heap of difference to a wee practice pad,
yeah.
a proper kit.
Well, I've got the normal or the regular questions I always ask drummers on Ask the Drummer. One of them is actually the drumming heroes, and Professor Ross Sinclair. He's already asked you about that, so I'm not going to ask you again. Do you twirl when you play drums? Do you do this?
I've tried it and I've failed miserably. The stick just disappears. And I've never been able to work it out. Maybe my fingers are too not long enough. I don't know. I've never been able to work it out how somebody does that. But no, it's hard enough for me when I'm playing drums to actually make sure that I keep the sticks in my hand and I don't lose one of them. Never mind trying to sort of twirl one while I'm playing.
So you don't throw it up in the air and then catch it.
Well, I know exactly what would happen if I threw a drumstick up in the air. You'd probably hit another musician.
Oh, it's a shame because it's always nice. I always find it fantastic when I see a drummer twirling and then playing at the same time. Because sometimes I think that sometimes it comes to them naturally. They don't realize that they actually twirl.
Yeah.
Because when I see a band on stage, and then say the guitarist is tuning the guitar or the singer is tuning his guitar. Sometimes I notice that the drummer is just going like this. It's like, oh, that's amazing. So you don't do that. So when say Douglas McIntyre is tuning his guitar, so what do? Do you just wait?
Yeah, just wait, have a drink of water. You know.
Right. So, how about accidents? Have you ever had any drumming accidents or a drumming disaster?
Because now and again, there's the usual thing of meaning to hit a cymbal or meaning to hit a hi hat, and you completely miss, and the drumstick goes flying. But the one I did have with the Suki Goldfish one early gig was, it used to be you would have your own drum kit and you take it along and set it up.
Yeah.
But now most drum kits are hired and they're already set up for you. And I'm just sort of usual setup, so I don't really, once it's set up, I don't really need to change anything on the drum kit. Alter the position of anything. So one time, and I normally do this, but this time I forgot. And early on in the set, and we're playing, and I hit one crash cymbal, and the crash cymbal comes, falls down onto its stand, and do the other crash cymbal that falls down to its stand. And the next thing, the floor tom is falling down its legs, and the floor, and the beater from the bass drum pedal is just flown off past, behind me as well. And then I've realised it's because all the wing nuts haven't been tightened up. So it's a lesson that I learned. Even though
so ever since you check and make sure that they're also tightly
tighten up all those wing nuts, yeah.
Yeah, because that's another question I'm interested in. Because sometimes, if it's a major band, say I went to see Kiss a few weeks ago, and so they have their own drum kit,
Mhm.
and then whoever is supporting, there's a second drum kit there. But most of the time, like in so like medium sized or smaller venues, there's only one drum kit for, say, even if there are three bands around. So
Yeah.
whose drum kit will that be? Will it be like the headliner's drum kit, or one of the support acts drum kit? Say with Scars, whose drum kit was it that you were playing on? That's all like that time.
That was it. I think that was a hire kit. So
Oh,
that kit was hired, and then set up, and so we both played that same kit. And most of the time, as I say, when I'm playing, the kit's already been hired. But generally, if it's local bands and it's a three-band bill, and we'll have to have a conversation with each other about first of all, who's got a drum kit, and is it the right sort of, does it have the right number of drums or whatever? And
yeah.
we'll make an arrangement. Somebody brings the drum kit and they set it up, and then usually the other drummers bring their own snare and their own cymbals, etc.
Yeah, because I wonder sometimes, do you get like precious with your kit? Because, I mean, they're not cheap. They're quite expensive, those sort of like, every bit of a drum kit. So,
Yeah.
if I'll say three bands playing on the stage, do you sometimes get like, don't touch this, or don't touch this sort of like snare drum, that's mine. I don't want you doing anything. Do you get that, or do you sort of like say, okay, you can borrow it, you can play it, but just be careful, things like that?
Yeah. Well, I don't have that problem at all because I don't even have a kit.
Oh, you don't?
So there's drum kits at my work. I'm lucky enough that there's drum kits in rehearsal rooms and there's umpteen rehearsal spaces. So if it's lunchtime or something like that, and I want to go and bash around in a kit, there's kits at my work that I can play on. And I've just got a practice pad in the house, and then when I play live, it's always the kit's always rented, which is brilliant because I remember like when the days of the Mackenzies or the Secret Goldfish, I'd have to take a kit to the gig, set it up, and then break it down again and take it home. And that's the time when you wished you were the guitar player, or you wished you played the violin. You wish you played the violin or something like that. Yeah, because no one ever gave you a hand. Set up your kit, dismantle it, take it home, arrange your own transport. No one ever helped you. Um, so, so it's a lot easier now. I don't really need a kit in the house. So as I say, I can practice on my work, which is great.
Yeah. So do you enjoy it more now? Do you enjoy playing the drums now more than before? Because you have to think about, there's not like having to
Yeah,
carry it and then.
it's great. I've just now got I just got a bag with my drumsticks in it, and that's all I need to carry. And the kit's already set up. I just tighten up those wing nuts and then bash away, and it's fantastic.
But don't you have like your own personal like style, or maybe you need to have this or a certain sort of like part of a drum kit that maybe the hired one hasn't got? Do you have that, or you can just play any drum kit that they've got there on the stage?
Yeah, I'll just play any drum kit that's there. You're just altering the position of the drums, or um, it's always been a sort of standard type drum kit. In Mackenzie's, I used to have a couple of rototoms. I would play. I'd have a rototom rather than a floor tom, for example, and I'd have another rototom instead of a rack tom. But most of the setup has always been roughly standard.
Standard, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That you can just play whatever is there.
Yeah, because I've always, as I got older, I got into jazz music, uh, and a lot of those players, were just sort of four-piece kits that they're playing with, and the same with a lot of funk drummers as well. You'd read interviews with bands, it might be interviews with the pop group, and they would talk about how they were influenced by Funkadelic, and so I would look at the drummer sort of from Funkadelic, and we just had normal sort of standard
Yeah.
drum setups. A lot of them were jazz trained, so there wasn't much to their kits.
Yeah. Well, it's easier, a lot easier for you nowadays. Well, my last question is: being a music business lecturer, what would be your best advice for upcoming, so like, or aspiring musicians or drummers out there?
Advice for drummers:
Yeah.
learn the piano. Because I would say you want to get involved in writing songs, and if the band agreement is such that all income is not split evenly, and the publishing is going to someone else, then try and get involved in writing so that you can get some of the publishing. Because otherwise, because
Oh
otherwise,
yeah, of course.
yeah. So that's what I mean. If you're going to be a drummer, also learn things like guitar or piano, and get involved in songwriting as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, because I think it's only like bands like you too where they split everything. So like, and every single one of them gets so like the royalties or the credits, all right.
Yeah,
But most bands, it's actually between the singer or songwriter who gets
yeah,
most of it, and the other band members don't get as much.
yeah. So it's when you get into that sort of stage where it's popular and there is money around, then you want to sort of look at if there isn't a band agreement in place, then you want a band agreement to be drawn up so that
Yeah.
it's probably why some of these bands are like U2 and I think Coldplay maybe or Radiohead do the same sort of
Yeah.
thing with a band agreement where it doesn't matter who's created the music. It's all the income is split evenly.
Yeah, they just split it evenly and stuff. That's brilliant. Yeah, of course. Especially for drummers. That's a really good advice for drummers. Get involved and so like get the get the money as well. That's so good. Oh, thank you so much, Paul, for agreeing to say to be on Ask the Drummer. And I'm really hoping that I could go and see you in the Port Sulphur soon. I'm not sure about the December one because that's in Edinburgh. Is that in Edinburgh? No, it's in Glasgow, isn't it?
No, the December one's in
Glasgow.
Edinburgh. Yeah, Edinburgh at the Bellangel, yeah. But
Right.
Glasgow, I don't. There might be a Glasgow show in the new year. But there probably will be a Glasgow show at some point next year, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm going to like keep my fingers crossed for that Mackenzie's so release and hopefully more gigs next year. So, any final words from you, Paul?
No. Thanks very much. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And Port Sulphur in December in
Yeah,
Edinburgh, isn't it?
yeah. Port Sulphur. I think it's the 15th of December with the Scars at the Bellangel. So that's our next gig.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna sort of like post a link to the because I think is there like a Port Sulphur? No, I'm not sure if there's a Port Sulphur Facebook page. I know there's like a Frets Facebook page, but I don't know. I'm gonna sort of like see if there is, and then maybe put the link so that people can actually find out about the next gig and
Great.
future gigs and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. And again, I'm sorry about that first sort of like introduction during the Hunger Beat events because I wasn't sure actually whether it's the real sort of like drummer that I was talking to. But thank
Mhm.
you so much, and
Thank you.
hope to see you someday soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Cheers, man.
All
Thank
right.
you.
See ya. Bye.
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 Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. That was so amazing. I'm so excited about that Mackenzie's. Hopefully, we'll see. Because, like I said, when I saw Professor Ross Sinclair last year, he wasn't even sure that there's going to be the Soup Dragons or like reunion because they're all doing separate things now. But this year they're doing it all in October. I'm so excited about it. So hopefully next year there will be a Mackenzie's tour too, and also releases as well, like albums or maybe 10-inch vinyl for that John Peel sessions and stuff. So let's also like keep our fingers crossed for that. But anyways, thank you all so much. I'm gonna be in Glasgow this weekend, so there's no Ask the Drummer on Sunday, but hopefully there will be one on the 1st of August, which is like the second year anniversary of Ask the Drummer. It's like I can't believe it. 2 years of Ask the Drummer. It's just really, really loving talking to all these amazing drummers. Hopefully there will be one on the 1st of August, but if not, then it will be on the 5th of August will be our next show. And hope to see you all again soon. So that's it for me for now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, love music, love life, and love drummers. They're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Paul Turnbull. And see you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye.